everyone, I decided to do something different with this video. I want to add a little narration. I'm doing a Jetfire for a second time now, and I wanted to walk through the process. This right here was sent to me from a viewer who saw my previous Jetfire video and wanted me to do his own Jetfire figure the same way, which is very humbling, and I'm very pleased to do this, and I thought it would be a good time to maybe talk through the process and why I do the things I do. First, why don't we rip this open and take a look at it. Okay, so this is my first look at the Jetfire. As you can see, it is a little yellowed. Not the worst I've seen by far, but definitely showing some yellow, which if you have ever experienced this figure, then you know that that is the case. It has all the arms, big plus, a lot of parts, even a lot of those original stickers on it, which is fascinating. I don't know if I've ever seen a Jetfire with this original sticker still on it. A little bit of a shame because I'm going to have to remove that. Maybe I can do it in a way where we can replace it. The owner did say he has new stickers to put on there, so it won't be a big loss if these stickers get destroyed, which is a likelihood. I always think this is interesting how some plastics yellow differently than others. This piece, I can't remember what it typically goes by, but seems to be a bit wider. Not sure if it's showing up on camera, but it seems to be a bit wider than the rest. As usual, you have the wings here with the paint being spread and scratched apart from the movement there, which is to be expected. Maybe we can touch up the paint as well. Looking back at the metal here, we definitely have some corrosion there, but of course this is not metal that corrodes severely, but it is not looking very shiny. Here, neither. The chrome pieces, which we will talk about in depth in a little while, are, as to be expected, still quite good. Okay. Definitely not a terrible Jetfire to begin with, but I'm still going to touch it up and get it looking brand new. Also, that cockpit is in actually very good condition. Not scratched up at all. Well, definitely not as bad as it could be. Okay, this is feeling, ooh, so sticky. Oh man, that was a tight movement of this antenna. I'm almost wondering if that is not due to a screw, the rear screw in there being tightened down. These shoulder pieces are also very interesting. They're almost very sparkly in a way. Very corroded, yet still very sparkly. Oh, that is sticky. Okay. Those feel a little sticky. All in all, the joints on this do not feel bad. Okay, I'm going to disassemble this. Okay, so this part I got it mostly disassembled. Have not yet gotten to the legs. That is because I can't find my lighter fluid, and that is the best thing that I have on hand to remove these stickers without damaging them. So that's going to come later. But now that I have all these parts apart, let's talk about them one by one. We have basically our plastic pieces, which these are going to get a good scrub and then de-yellowed. I don't know if I'm going to do any paint touch-up because, well, for this piece, for example, the paint looks just fine. There is instances like this, but to be honest, I'm not that best at matching paints, and I don't want to do a wacky job on that and then make it obvious. We have this, one of the shoulder pieces. Now this is die cast. The material is colloquially known as pot metal, and more specifically, it is a alloy of zinc, magnesium, and aluminum. This metal is very interesting. It will not rust because it has no iron in it. It does corrode, as you can see, although that process is very short term. So I can get this very shiny in addition to removing these casting marks, and then I may do something special with these later. There is also parts such as this, the hip joint part, which this is also pot metal, die cast, although this part is chrome plated. I say it's chrome plated, but though, to be honest, my knowledge of metallurgy is not that great, so this may actually be nickel. In any case, it is very heavy on there. It has retained its luster for 35 years. As you can see, it just needs a little bit of polish, but it is still in excellent condition. They didn't make this to be like, you know, this is not the quality you would see on an automobile. They just laid it on thick. And as you can see, it's very grainy. The casting marks underneath are still there. Right. But I'm not going to touch that because I will not be able to recreate that. So just going to give that a little clean and a polish. We have parts such as this, which is the hardware, so to speak. And this is just straight steel. I'm tempted to say this is stainless steel. As you can see, this is not rusted at all, although, to be fair, it's not an environment where it would really be rusted. I may do nothing more than just kind of clean these off since that's in really good condition. I don't want to polish these or anything because it doesn't really need it, and the tolerances on these are actually very tight. To the credit of the designers in the factory and all that made this thing was incredibly tight. It actually took a lot of force to get out of here. Or I should say surprising amount of force, more than you'd expect from a simple toy. Okay, in addition, we have this clear plastic, which is incredibly fragile. So even just taking this off was a little nerve-wracking. And you see there are scratches here. I may do a little to touch that up, but I'm really not going to be aggressive with this because the risk of this shattering is very high. Although I will use some Pledge floor polish on this to give it a nice shine to it. Okay. The main thing with any of this, guys, if nothing else, is to scrub it in soapy water because after 35 years, even in a clean environment, dirt is going to build up. And I think it would surprise you just how much this surface layer of grease and dirt that is actually invisible on most of these pieces, just how much it actually affects the movement and transformation of these figures. When you start to articulate it and move things around, after you have scrubbed it and dried it and gotten all nice and clean, it feels like a world of difference, even if there was not present dirt on there to begin with. I don't know if this will translate well, but I'm putting quite a bit of force into moving this. And now you want these joints to be somewhat tight, but you also want them to glide. And that is very sticky. These leg pieces as well. You can even hear that. Very sandy. Very gunky, and these will move much better after I've taken it apart and cleaned it. Okay, let's do that right now. Okay, folks, I got my little cleaning setup here. This is nothing other than just dish soap and water. Honestly, these parts are really not that dirty to begin with. It's not like these are automotive parts or they have heavy grease or heavy dirt on them. Really, it's probably more than anything just oils from people's hands. So I'm just going to scrub these, or let them soak for a little while, and then scrub them with an old toothbrush. And it is honestly as effective as anything you need to do with these types of parts. This may be an obvious point to a lot of you, but this simple ABS plastic is, now it's not really, it's not going to be affected by water. You could soak it in water for, I could keep it in here for a year and it's going to be just fine. So nothing to be concerned of with just simple water. Bloop. Now the owner did tell me that he has new stickers at home that he can put on himself after I send this back to him. That being said, if I can preserve any of the original stickers, I will. right. Some of these are actually legitimately somewhat dirty, have these stains. So even without de-yellowing it, just simply washing this plastic off is going to do a lot to freshen up the look. I will say one sticker that really needs to be preserved is this. Even when you get the new sticker packs from various websites and services, it will not usually come with this. And once you lose this, your only other option is to repaint it. And let me tell you right now, that's a pain in the ass. Okay, I have most of the parts now cleaned and put into this solution of hydrogen peroxide. I'm actually trying something new here. I got this from Sally's Beauty Supply, 40 volume clear hair bleaching formula. Now, contrary to what you might think, the 40 does not refer to the percentage of hydrogen peroxide, but rather something to do with color shading. I don't know. In any case, I've actually cut it with 1-to-1 with distilled water, and I did a little test piece the other day, and that works just fine. So I'm going to turn the light on with my little light box here. Hold up. Okay, there we go. Lit up, and I know that not every piece is exposed and some are actually outside of the solution partly, but in my experience that surprisingly does not affect it, and I can always come back and switch this around a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and close this up, leave it there for a good while, and we'll see how it turns out. All right, I just took this out of the UV light. It's been in there for about 24 hours. And we are looking pretty white right now. Some of these pieces, I'm not sure. I think they moved around a little bit and maybe got just enough hydrogen peroxide on them for it to work, because everything here looks pretty darn white. Nice. Real nice. Okay. All right, so I found the lighter fluid, and I'm going to attempt to remove these stickers with the lighter fluid without damaging them. The only reason I need to is because I need to get to these screws. Okay, so it's been a little while since I've done this. Let me see if I still know what to do. In my experience, it's best to saturate this, let it sit for a little while, and then maybe do it again a few times, and then gently try to peel these off. All right, and if you let this soak in just enough, it should peel right off. And even with my lack of exposed nails, I think I'm able to get these off here. Let's see if I can do, took some paint with me, no big deal. Fuckles, okay. It's good, I'd rather take the paint with me than any part of the decal. Okay, so I can now get to these screws, no problem. Place them on this magnet for the time being. Okay, got some water around here, but no big deal. Let's pry this off. Aha. definitely gonna have to remove this in order to treat this metal. All right, I have one of these shoulder pieces in a jeweler's vise. There's a line that goes across here, a casting mark, left over from the casting process. I'll tilt it so you might be able to see better. What it is the two pieces of the mold come together, and that is where the hot metal has sort of dripped in between the cracks. At least that's my understanding. In any case, it's a little unsightly and doesn't need to be there. I'm just gonna file this away. Okay, same on the other side. These are pretty cheap files, honestly, but for this work, they don't really need to be very high quality. And really, I'm just getting that rough high spot off. I'm going to go back, I'm going to go here in a second with some sandpaper, as you'll see. Because there's still quite a bit of finishing that needs to be done. All right, got a piece now on some sandpaper, and this right here is just a piece of marble. My father owned a construction company for many decades, and I found this in his shop. What I think it is something that a company might have sent as a sample. Either that or maybe it's just left over from a job site. In any case, it makes a really nice flat hard surface. So I'm just gonna take it over here like this. Trying to get even wear on the sandpaper that's actually already been used a bit. And as you can see, I'm already starting to rough it up a little bit. You're starting to see some casting marks that are left over. I'm gonna try to get past these lines and get nothing but bare flat metal. By the way, this is 220 grit. That's what I'm starting with. All right, now I'm also taking 220 grit to the sides like this. I like to stay with one grit of paper and work all the way around the piece before I move on. So it seems most logical to me. As you can see, that's starting to smooth out. Still a ways to go, however. Okay, so I repeated that process all the way up until 600 grit, and then I gave it a little brush with some Scotch-Brite. Now, I definitely could have done more to get this to a real mirror finish, but I'm not going to do that for a few reasons. For one, it's a lot of work, and I still have a lot more metal pieces to go. Second, it's going to look out of place with the rest of the Jetfire, which is not going to be quite as shiny. Okay, I have these completely bleached now, and this is just one little piece here. As you can see, it's pretty white. Now, I am going to apply some conditioner. And this stuff right here, Car Guy's Plastic Restorer, is, in my opinion, one of the best you can get. I've tried others, I've read reviews. This stuff is a little pricey, but it seems to be a step above everything else. Okay. Now I'm just going to rub a little bit into the plastic here and let it absorb itself. This will be messy for a little while and kind of greasy, but that's what's got to happen. Okay, I got all these pieces here all coated with this goo. I'm gonna let it seep in overnight. I'm gonna keep this covered because it will attract a lot of dust. All right, we'll check on these in a few days. Okay, it's a few days later, and I'm going to remove this little cover here and see what we got. So, looks like this is absorbed very nicely in there. There's still a little bit of blue residue here. But what I'm going to do is just take a blue shop towel and first of all take off anything that was not absorbed into the piece. The stuff can get rather dry and a little crusty if there's too much of it. But all in all, this is feeling very good. All right, I'm gonna give these one last little buff with a microfiber cloth. That's to maybe take off any remaining product, buff the surface to a little bit of a shine. This stuff is sort of almost like a waxy polish type compound. It will stick behind, and your best bet is probably just to try to buff it till it's at least a even gloss. All right, well there we have it. Another Jetfire complete. Looks pretty good if I do say so myself. The cast metal parts came out real nice. All right, nice and white all over. All right, ready to ship them off.